True or false?
All seniors are depressed?
Really?
No.
We're going to talk about it coming up.
Welcome to Senior Care Made Simple, an elder care podcast, your guide to navigating home health care with confidence. Hosted by Andrea Albertini, founder and CEO of Horizon Care Services, an industry leader in private duty home care in South Florida. To learn more, visit horizoncareservices.com.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I am here with my co-host, Doris Muscarella.
Hello, everyone.
And we have a very special guest today. Thank you for joining us on a Senior Care Made Simple podcast. We're here today with Mindy Staum. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mindy.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Mindy Staum. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I want to talk about depression in seniors.
I would say probably 95% of our patients suffer with some kind of depression.
Absolutely. What about anxiety? Is that part of the depression?
Absolutely. So the prevalence in seniors is only 1 to 2%, yet people think it's a normal part of aging. 6 to 10% of them present in primary care settings, and it goes unrecognized, undiagnosed.
Define senior. What age is senior?
Over 55.
Over 55.
There's a high prevalence in third generation people is when it starts to develop. There's also a big genetic factor. First degree relatives, someone who has mental illness in the family, an extended family member. They're 10 times more likely to be depressed. There's social factors as well, such as loneliness, isolation, a recent loss of a spouse, a recent loss of a pet, decreased mobility, and lack of support in someone's social network.
That's why it is so important to plan for your retirement and what you're going to do and how you're going to stay active.
Absolutely. The people who retire with limited interests are far worse off.
You know, one of the things, Mindy, since you are, a licensed therapist, that I also like to talk about a little bit at some point in time is something that a lot of people are not addressing is depression brings in addiction.
Yes. So it's interesting you bring that up. There's also a huge uptick in substance abuse. Just last week, I had a client, not one of my clients, but in a senior living community. One of the staff members told us that she falls down drunk in her room, regularly, and that could be a risk. We had suggested getting a private duty aid with the person. We suggested it to the family.
Because that person has to be monitored.
Well, they weren't even my patient, but this is another way that needs are not going and getting met all the time.
Well, I got a phone call the other day from a friend of mine, and he needed some help with his wife. His wife is 59 years old, very successful, and now she is, he's putting her in hospice as this afternoon. The depression and addiction is something that everyone needs to be aware of. And since this podcast is dedicated to younger adults that's dealing with older parents, it is very important for all of you to identify those things early with your parents so you don't get to that position.
So planning for what they would like it older in life, are you focusing on wanting to stay in their homes or planning for if they should need independent or assisted living?
A lot of the mental health situation, either they have mental health issues or they don't, or they have addiction issues or they don't, should be addressed at some point in time.
1,000%. People in independent living and assisted living, it's a huge adjustment for them once they get there. Sometimes people will say, my kid sent me here to die. I hear that a lot. And it's not. I think we can all live our best lives at any age.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just listening to music that we love or going to a water class or walking every day. When you go to assisted living, your life doesn't have to change all that much.
My best friend that plays golf with me is 85 years old. She's amazing. She beats me all the time. So I also think mindset, like you were saying, is important.
Yes.
That's why psychotherapy is so important.
Correct.
Is starting an early age for you to be able to age in place. I mean, that's the best thing to do, and it's covered by most insurances and Medicare and
Yes.
also private pay.
And we take Medicare.
So it is very important. Now, I want to mention again about the assisted living. So, I own Horizon Care Services, private duty home care in Palm Beach. A lot of you know that. And I also own Elder Care Finders, which is a senior placement company. The reason I did that is to be able to give family and children the choice. What would you like to have for your mom? Or how would you like your mom or your dad to age, right? To age in place. Some people does very well at home, but some people don't. I want you all to think about it because they're choices. They can stay home with a live-in. They can stay home with hourly care. So if you are trying to place your mom on assisted living and your mom is saying, but I don't want to leave my house. I don't want to do this. If it's a money thing, sell the house, rent a small apartment, put an aid in there. It still is going to be a change for that particular
big
person.
change.
Yes. It's psychologically. Absolutely.
Yes.
So, and then come again, what are the plans? Have any plans been made early on?
Those are some of the biggest challenges that I see. Number one with depression is access to care. And number two is identifying it. Depression presents very differently in seniors. It presents mostly in primary care offices. An average person will complain more of ailments and go to the doctor than they will to say, I feel sad or lonely, or I don't have any interests, or I have low energy. They're 10 times more likely to go to a primary care doctor. And what's happening is primary care doctors, as good as they are missing these key warning signs.
Exactly.
So I want to say something because you're talking about your mother and your father and all this stuff. But I have a significant other that had a heart attack and his total mental state changed and shifted. So it can also be your spouse, your loved one. It could even be, your son or daughter that needs help. So it's not limited to seniors. We take all cases.
Yes. And what you guys are doing is you're providing access to care. And I think that is the key component of this whole thing. You're having people have choices of what they want to do and how they want to age and where they want to age. Like I tell people, nobody wakes up and says, yay, I can't wait to move to independent living. Usually something happens. Most of my clients are in independent living because one of the two of a spouse need to be there.
What I see a lot in my business, my care comes mostly through the daughter or the son, that is requesting care for their loved ones, right?
It's very interesting. When somebody moves into assisted living, a family member, the family members typically have one of two responses in my experience, and I'm doing this 20 years already. Typically, I call them the dump and run. Those are the ones that put them there and they see them maybe 3 times a year. And then they tell me and complain weekly how their kids abandoned them, or they can't believe their kid put them here, or when are my kids coming to visit me? Then we have the other ones, the other extreme. They come almost daily. Some come multiple times a day. Some take shifts and they feel that their loved one needs more visitation. But really what they need is for people to allow them to adjust to where they're living.
Exactly.
And to just be with their thoughts.
And those people, which is the children, also needs counseling. They also need help to be able to let go, continue to be supported to mom and dad, but also let go. They also have their life to live. And being a caregiver is not easy. I was a caregiver, and it's not easy at all.
So was I. I've been on the other side of that too. I think the emotional toll of caregiving is almost harder than any emotion that the senior is going through in the assisted living, because to get the person to that place and what it took, it must eat the person inside. It must tear their insides out. And I think the sandwich generation, people who have children and families and homework to do and jobs, and now they're also going to visit their loved one, it's a lot. There is caregiver burnout. It's real, and they don't have to go through it alone, or you don't have to go through it alone.
So if somebody calls you and says, listen, I'm in the sandwich generation, I am the caregiver burnt out. I mean, right now I am a caregiver. I take care of my 94-year-old mother who has dementia, and it's very draining. The good thing is I have 5 sisters, and we rotate. However, it is draining. Do you offer any help for the caregiver?
Absolutely. Doris, I'm really sorry you're going through that. It's so stressful. Nobody wants to see their mom struggle or suffer. And what really happens is the guilt of not being there, the guilt of if something happens.
Yes.
What if she's by herself?
Right.
What if? What if you took 1 hour out of your life to go for a walk or to take a gym class and your mom was alone for 1 hour?
No, I can't take that chance.
Exactly. So that's what I hear all the time.
We never leave her alone. And this Sunday was my turn to take care of her. And she walked from one room to the other and she was out of breath. I really wanted to take her out. It was a beautiful day. And I said, absolutely not. I'm not taking a chance. So it's a lot of stress on the caregiver. She's not really aware of what's going on. However, it takes a lot. It takes a toll.
The toll is on you and your 4 sisters.
Correct. And it creates a lot of friction between us because it's a lot of pressure.
You and your sisters or you and your mom?
The sisters. My mom is not really 100% there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of resentment between siblings when it comes to caregiving, especially when you're sharing the responsibility. Well, my sister should be doing more. How come it all falls on me? You're the oldest. You should be taking care of everyone else. There's a lot of dynamics, as every family has, that go into this.
And you know what? I've told them about elder care finders. In a heartbeat, I would get somebody out there to help. But then we're not all in agreement about that. So that's something that's very important also.
Well, a lot of times your 85-year-old mother isn't going to be the one to accept the help, and you would be the identified client. Like you would be the one that I would see, in person or virtually, or one of my clinicians would.
Okay, I'll be calling you, okay?
Sounds great.
I mean, your mother is very lucky to have you guys being the caregiver for her. But I also, think that eventually it will get to the point that she will need to be going into a facility, if it gets to that point. And some people actually live, very physically fine for the rest of their life. They're just not going to, be eating, and they're going to be forgetting to eat. They don't have appetite. And that's when you really have a problem, down the road. But everyone needs to be very careful, when they are a caregiver, because it's very difficult. And you got to, remember too, we have families that don't live in the same town as your parents do. We have children who have gone to college and move away to different countries and different states, and mom and dad are alone in wherever parts of the world.
And most of these seniors, they develop depression when they are used to doing things that they do every single day, like your friend who golfs, who's 85 years old. In the event that she loses the ability to golf any given time or develops some type of ailment, that's when depression really sets in.
So that gives me another question for you. What are the signs of depression? If a family member has depression, what do we look for?
So I always look for frequent visits to doctors. That is the first one. Loneliness, isolation. Did somebody recently pass? If so, how long ago? If it exceeds 6 months, the diagnostic manual says that person is depressed. However, in doing this as long as I am, grief is never ending, so it could go on. I don't think that in itself is indicative of true depression. But that coupled with lack of energy, lack of interest in things, decreased or increased sleep, decreased or increased appetite, things that they used to like to do, they're not doing. Lack of connection, lack of community, and lack of support.
So what are the therapies you recommend for these elders that are going through this?
It depends what they're going through. So I usually do a lot of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is reframing your thoughts and thinking about situations differently and finding enjoyment in your daily life. I think that's the key to all of this. What do you enjoy, and do more of that? And I think that's true no matter how old you are.
It's very interesting. We're talking about that. Actually, Mindy, you just touched my heart just a few minutes ago when you said that grief is, it's interesting. I have lost the love of my life, unfortunately, and there with caring for him and so on. So a lot of the symptoms that you said, right? I had it. The depression, working all day, helping everybody else, and as soon as I got home, I crashed. I came home, I cooked dinner. I check my messages, my email, and I think by 6:30, 7 o'clock, I was under the cover watching TV. Never wanted to do anything at all, just basic stuff, food shopping, walking my dogs. Didn't want to go out to dinner with my friends, didn't want to travel. My whole entire life have changed dramatically in 1 year. So I, of course, I got help. But grief is something you always going to have, and you don't know when it comes. And when it comes, it hits you hard.
It comes in waves.
It comes in waves. And I had to seek counseling, of course, twice a week, in meditation, and maybe talking to a close friend as well, and really push myself. I shared with my friends in my family what I was going through. So I had a lot of support from friends and family, including from my employees. We're going to go out, we're going to grab some pizza after work. Or, hey, you want to go on your boat? Let's go out on your boat. Or stuff, things like that.
It's those little things that create meaning for you. And I think that's true of caregivers in general. It's the little things that create the meaning, especially when you're caring for someone else.
Yes.
Just sometimes getting through the day is a success.
Yes.
And doing everything that you need to do. It's a win. It's a success. Your body feels exhausted.
Yes.
And mentally you're exhausted. And caring for anybody, it's exhausting.
It's exhausting. I mean, honestly, I tried to go to bed around maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock. I was up at 1. I was up at 3:30. I was up at 5 o'clock. Then I had to get up to get ready for work at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. And I was absolutely spent.
But it's not just you. Within 2 years of a loss, 14% of people develop depression. I think it's higher because the seniors, over 65 people, will not admit to being depressed. They'll say they lost their husband, their hip hurts, their leg hurts, their arthritis, their hands hurt. They come up with all kinds of things. But I think that number, that 14%, I actually think it's much higher.
I do. I also think as well. And I think for any of you all that is listening, there's nothing wrong in getting an assessment to measure if there's what kind of depression, what is your signs of depression on your loved ones, because that's also going to play a big part as they're aging in place.
And when depression is untreated, it interferes with someone's ability to follow a treatment regimen. So if somebody has a medical diagnosis and they're depressed, they may not treat that diagnosis because they don't feel like going to physical therapy 2 or 3 times a week. I had a lady, she laid around with a broken hip. She fought the rehab. I guess she refused a certain number of times and they kicked her out. And she couldn't just go back. There's a whole process, which I didn't even know about. You need to go back to the hospital, have a hospital stay for X amount of time just to get back into a rehab.
I can imagine it's very difficult to get a senior to get treatment for depression, okay? And I always go back to my 94-year-old mother. How do you handle that? How can you get her to get some help?
So normally I talk to the power of attorney or whoever the primary care doctor is who's making the referral, and I try to use the nurse practitioner making the referral, the family, and tell the loved one that their family and their physician both think that they need this. A lot of times they'll say, oh, great, now everyone thinks I'm crazy. I'm like, you know what? I think you're too proud to ask for help. And I think this is so taboo and stigmatized, and it's so far out of their scope of anything they've ever considered. So it's a challenge to sometimes get in there.
Absolutely, especially in the elderly community. That era of their thought of going to somebody for help was a weakness.
Correct. And in the younger generation, it's bougie. Everybody has a therapist. Everybody goes weekly to talk to someone.
So what can families do to support their loved ones regarding mental health?
Well, they want to tell, Ma, you're depressed. Ma, you're not yourself. Have you thought about talking to someone? The building has somebody there who comes. They'll come to see you. If not, I'm going to talk to her. And the best that the person can do is maybe get themselves help to be able to deal with this person who refuses to get help themselves.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much.
No problem.
It's interesting. I want to put something out there too. Sometimes the depression is so severe that person completely refuses. So I have experienced myself where I brought the therapist into my home to care, to talk to my loved ones. And, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine. I'm great. I'm not depressed. So the barriers that I have come across, not only personally, actually, but also with some of our patients in here. You have 3 or 4 siblings, right? That is, one of them gets what's going on with mom and dad. They want to help. And the other 2, there's nothing wrong. Mom is being like this, since she was a kid, or dad has been like this since they were young. So, you guys are overreacting. So that's a lot of things that we see between siblings as well, as you are seeing that too, Doris.
I know, and I'm going to say something, but please don't repeat it. So we needed, my mother got to a point she wouldn't talk. So we played a little trick and we told her, there's a cleaning lady that's coming and going to clean your room and stuff like that. But it was really the therapist that came in, and now we have her almost every other week to come in, and she's starting to talk again. So the assistance has been tremendous.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
That's amazing.
But we had a little fib, the cleaning lady, but it worked.
A lot of times my clients have very good relationships, usually with their children. And if their adult children recommend that I speak to them, usually they're very spot on. But it's very easy to miss. It's easy to miss what's really happening. If your friend who's 85 years old, who plays golf every single day, is suddenly has a fall and is unable to use that hip or the arms or something medical, it really, really affects them emotionally. And the mental and physical are so interconnected. People die prematurely from stress. Nobody talks about that.
Stress kills.
Yes.
Depression kills.
So one thing I want to talk about also is that we're missing the suicide rate in adults is greater than any other population currently.
I'm glad you mentioned
sad.
that because I live in a elderly community. We don't like to call it that, but we do. And I am part of a committee where we try to bring in resources and stuff. I'm in the Healthy Lifestyle Resources. I brought in front of the committee to have a lecture on suicide. And 2 members lifted up their hand and said, we don't have suicides here. The director of the Healthy Lifestyle says, absolutely. We just don't mention them or let anybody else know what is happening. Suicide is very common in the elderly community.
Correct. Males 85 years and older are the highest group to complete suicide, and they're the less likely to accept help from therapists.
I'm not surprised.
So many older adults who commit suicide have visited a primary care physician very close to the time of the suicide. 20% of seniors visit their primary care on the same day, 40% within the week.
That's scary.
It scares me too. And what's really interesting is that people are missing the warning signs.
So can you repeat the warning signs?
The warning signs, the number one warning sign are complaints of ailments and spending most of the time going to the doctors, different doctors. But you have to listen for things that are underlying that. Did they lose a spouse? Did they have any major life-changing events? Did they lose a pet? Did they lose very close friends? Do they have a good support system?
Support system is key.
Suicides are twice as common as homicides,
Wow.
yet less talked about.
Yeah, we
So
don't talk
sad.
about it. What are the top pieces of advice that you would give to families and caregivers about supporting elderly mental health?
Encourage them to get treatment. Encourage them to talk to somebody. Tell them they're not crazy. Normalize it. Tell them that everyone is seeing a therapist, which is true. The 20 to 30-year-olds are booming. Everyone has a therapist, like everybody has a gym membership.
That's very true.
Or get a cleaning lady that comes out as a therapist.
Well, we don't want to deceive the clients. We kind of want to work with people to get them into treatment or seeing a therapist. And also, a lot of times we will encourage medication with that, not by me, but by a psych NP or a psychiatrist, because sometimes, like Andrea, someone has such a deep loss that is unfathomable to live without, that they need a little something to get over that hump temporarily until they have some coping skills. But the one thing that families can take away is that they are not crazy. It's hard. The 3 biggest life stressors are death, divorce, and moving. And most of these people have had at least 2 of them.
Mindy, I know that you are licensed in a lot of the states. We're going to have your information on the show notes.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I look forward to hearing from everyone.
Well, thank you, Doris, and thank you, Mindy,
Thank
for
you.
joining us today. This was an incredible topic, and we have so much more to talk about when it comes to mental health and everything that's going on, not only with our seniors, but also with young adults facing different chapter of their lives. So we're going to have you back again, Mindy. So
I would love that.
we
Life
would
is
love to have
stressful, so there's a lot that goes on.
Exactly. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us today for Senior Care Made Simple podcast. If any of you have a question, wants us to talk about anything, please email us at seniorcaremadesimplepodcast@gmail.com. seniorcaremadesimplepodcast@gmail.com. I'm Andrea Albertini. Doris, Mindy, have a fantastic rest of the week, everybody.
Senior Care Made Simple, an elder care podcast, has been brought to you by Horizon Care Services, your private duty choice in home care in South Florida. For more information on acquiring home care assistance, visit horizoncareservices.com.